And I am reading today from the little book, Jesus is Here, the Power of the Presence of Light. If you desire to take a look at a copy, we have them in the bookstore. I read the words of Jesus channeled. I come not to judge, but to lift. I say this because it has long been said that I sat at the right hand of God to judge the quick and the dead. A Christ being would never judge. He would rather love and understand and lift and help and be one with each person. To judge is to place a barrier, to place an inequality. The Christ would rather know the forgiveness, the guiltlessness of the one who fears judgment. Let the light of reason temper the wisdom of evaluation. Call on the spirit of righteousness, which is rightness, which is truth, as I have done. For we all may do this at any time. In this way, what appears to be judgment will be shown to be rightness and truth. Thank you. And speaking today on attributes and attitudes of the Christ, as a leader and a teacher, she has been a university teacher and a leader here at the Inner Christ, and a policy maker and a decision maker with a wealth of wisdom, a wealth of Christ's guidance. So, again, attributes and attitudes of the Christ. Let's welcome Reverend Brigitte Heimers.
Thank you, Reverend Elaine. Attributes and attitudes of the Christ. As was already mentioned in our spiritual calendar here at the Teaching of the Inner Christ, we traditionally dedicate the month of October to celebrate in gratitude our Christ awareness. And it was already mentioned, the Sunday close to October 19th is called Awareness Day. Because on this day, all centers and study groups within the teaching of the Inner Christ create special programs to honor the Yogi Christ Babaji, who placed the teaching into the minds of our founders, one of whom is Reverend Dr. Anne Meyer McKeever. And already in the early days, the message was Christ awareness all over the world. So given the historic background I just reviewed for us, my title this morning is concerned with the attributes and attitudes of the Christ. Once we become aware of our inner Christ by name and signal, we always can contact our Christ self or our I am self. In the first course of our curriculum here at the Teaching of the Inner Christ, called Inner Sensitivity, we learn that we all have a unique Christ identity, which is our own identity on the Christ level of consciousness. It is our vibration. And vibration is synonymous with name. So we have our own Christ name. In fact, each person may have an unknown number of Christ identities, each on a different vibrational level, and each with a particular Christ name. And I found in my way of learning about this Christ identity that they oftentimes come for specific reasons in your life. Like you have, let's say, a new direction that you go to, or you are starting, let's say, your studies at the university, or whatever it is, is usually one of your Christ identities that is there to to help you, to guide you, to direct you, and to give you service. And it is always love, it's always beautiful vibrations. We also learn in our first course of inner sensitivity that the Christ identity of each person is a universal teacher and healer, as capable, as beautiful, and as loving as Jesus. All we have to do is to allow ourselves to unfold this awareness of our Christhood. It is a gradual process of growth and change. Christ awareness, this spiritual awareness, is no longer reserved for a few masters or sages. In this age, all are going to be recognized as being spiritually aware. And I find that wonderful, this idea that while we are still on the earth, we come together with other people, we meet other groups, and there is this wonderful vibration that is happening right now. So that's the reason we teach here at the Teaching of the Inner Christ the message that everyone is a Christ. So that just takes care of everything, because as was said before, there's no judgment, there's no reservation. We just open ourselves to the vibration of love. So everyone, through conscious contact with their own Christ selves, learns to express their innate divinity. And the key in all of this is awareness. We need to be aware of it. But how do we really become aware? Well, aware, according to Webster's dictionary, usually implies vigilance in observing or in drawing inferences from what we see, hear, feel. It also includes being alive, alert, awake, cognizant, conscious, paying attention to life. So we have, as you can see, many definitions available. I like the word cognizant because it implies special or certain knowledge as from first-hand sources. Of course, spirit is our first-hand source. I also like the word conscious, which implies awareness of something when we allow it to enter our minds and hearts. And that's the place where we fix attention upon it. So it is really an activity that we have to do in order to truly understand the beautiful avenue for us available. It's like paying attention to the signals from our Christ identity. So when we stop our daily activities long enough to pause in meditation or channeling to bring through the message from Christ, remember, all awareness is the awareness of God. Just as all life is the life of God. Although we use the term awareness in various ways, awareness is the self-recognition, the self-knowing of God. And it is awareness alone that has the power to spread the Christ message. The Christ message to others and to transform the world into enlightened consciousness, just as light or divine intelligence has the power to move. So we are part of it in this activity. In our textbook, Being a Christ, which was mentioned before, I found this quote, which you can read again. It's on page 166, if you want to refresh your memory. And there it is said, quote, light is the awareness or consciousness. Light upon the level of spirit is enlightenment. Upon the level of mind, it is intelligence. Upon the physical level, it is physical vibration, end of quote. So it covers all the bases, as you can see. As some of you know, beginning next week, it was already mentioned, on Tuesday, October 10th of October, I'm scheduled to teach the course of inner sensitivity. And it is a real joy for me to study thoroughly again that textbook, Being a Christ, in order to teach it well. The last time I taught the course was some years ago. Naturally, I had forgotten some of the rich material in our textbook. So I invite you also, if you so desire, to look once in a while into that textbook, Being a Christ. And what happens is the same thing like it happens with our pink books, which are channeled messages of the present Jesus. You just kind of open it to some page, and you are directed to the perfect paragraph, usually, that is just relevant for that particular situation. So I invite you to try that out again. So awareness, or light, or the consciousness of God, transforms all experience, or appearances of separation, limitation, or error in any form upon contact. So very much the same way as darkness in a room is transformed by turning on a light. Even one candle is dispelling the darkness. I'm sure you have made that experience yourself. That just one candle just brings light into the darkness. Remember, we each can be a candle in the world by sharing our Christ awareness and turning on the Christ awareness in other persons we meet. And then soon the Christ awareness is all over the world. And a great change is taking place through healing the old, lifting it into the new level of consciousness. I oftentimes remember, I was a professor at the University of San Diego for 42 years. And sometimes I had students coming into my office and I anticipated that they wanted to know something about German. But actually, one of them especially is still in my mind. He was sent by a group in the class to find out what makes Dr. Heimers tick. Because, my experience always was I came with a smile into the class. And no matter who was sitting there, sometimes you had students who came from another class where they had a disturbance of some sort. And what I did, I always used my I am self, Aga Jesus. I would say, take care of this student. And then I would go on with my teaching. And it is amazing to me how it never fails. Eventually, that particular student finally paid attention to the class, and finally you could feel that this person was letting go of whatever occupied that person before. And so I'm using that usually everywhere I go. Recently, as you know, I've been in Europe. I always visit my family once a year. And I already start when I'm sitting on my seat in the airplane to send my love to everyone, to know that each one has, their perfect message. And I always ask about the pilot. Some of the stewardesses are usually funny. But I want to know in what spirit is my pilot and the co-pilot. Because remember, you are actually giving your life over for these many hours. It takes about 10 to 12 hours to travel from Los Angeles to Frankfurt. And I mean, your life is in the hands of those pilots, and you want to know that they are in a good mood also. So that is usually what I do. And of course, my entire time in Europe, I always sent that light and that love. And oftentimes you might have experienced that yourself. You are being told by your I am self to do some healing. And oftentimes you don't know all the details or all the circumstances. But I urge you to listen, because your prayer may be needed in some situation to help, to lift. And so I think we have really a wonderful privilege knowing our own I am self, Christ self. And of course, you can also ask you can ask your I am self about somebody else in your family. I just recently, I always pray for everybody in my family, for my brother, my sister, for the boys. They are now going to school. That's their first year in school, and I hear from my sister details. The other day, the adults had a discussion whether the boys should be in one class or in different classes. Maybe I mentioned that before. And they had their long ears, listening to the adults, even though they were playing with their Lego toys. So then Leo, he's the one who jumps first and then finds out where he jumped to. Whereas Jonathan, he's the kind of, very relaxed and thinking first. So Leo came to the table and he said, if we are not in one class, we're going to meet during the break and then we're going to leave. They were going to meet during the break in the bathroom. We meet in the bathroom and then we're going to leave. So it's very interesting to see these two little guys, And of course, it is also enjoyable for me when I come. Carsten, their dad, and we went that one afternoon when I had just arrived to pick them up. In those days, they still were in kindergarten. And it was Jonathan who had seen me right away, and he just passed by his dad, didn't even say hello, and came to me. But you should just have seen his eyes; they were just beaming, and I could see in the distance Leo. He looked around; his brother wasn't there anymore, and so finally he came running too. So I had the two guys one on each one of my hands. And of course the one who had also the dad's hand, he was kind of skipping. And before you knew it, Leo on my side here, he came in front and said, I want to do that too. And it was amazing to me. Jonathan just simply gave him that place. So that he could be jumping also. And Jonathan came to my other hand. So I'm saying here, with your awareness, with your Christ contact, you can, make it lovely for a lot of other people. And so this is my message today. This one candle that can light everything. So healing at the level of awareness is accomplished through contact with our inner Christ. And so when we align ourselves in consciousness with unlimited God awareness, we experience a healing ourselves. And that is the wonderful part. Any prayers we say for others, we are benefiting the most from it. And I'm sure you have experienced that also. So the world experiences, therefore, a healing because at this level only perfection is known. And so in this place of unlimited God awareness, all human experience is known as perfect. And in this place, all love is unconditional. All experience is equal and valid. In this place, we will not find any experience of judgment, limitation, lack of any kind. So through our Christ awareness, let us be prepared for the changes in the world. Change which occurs through Christ's self-awareness is very powerful, and it is permanent because it is due to a change in consciousness. And of course, situations that we have just gone through regarding Las Vegas and so forth, I think we can send our love and our vibrations of peace to that city and to that whole state, to know that the people who right now are in absolute difficulty, we can help them to move ahead. And we can also bless the person who's done this situation, because remember, he is also a candle in God's universe. So there are lots of things that we can do with our beautiful Christ contact, Christ awareness. And that is what I'd like to leave with you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicely done.
Excuse me. Thank you so much, Reverend Brigitte Heimers. And now's the time